Let me know when we're live.
Oh, we've been live. It's been recording since we left.
Oh, my apologies. Good evening, Peralta community. Thank you for joining us tonight as we conduct the important business of the district. It is December 14, and it is also our last board meeting of the year. Let's call to order the meeting at 6:03 p.m. 3.2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Withrow, can I have you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Let's move on to 3.3. So 3.3 is our annual organizational meeting. According to Ed Code, the governing board of a community college district is required to hold an annual organizational meeting. And according to our BP 2305, the annual organizational meeting of the board will be held each year at the first regularly scheduled board meeting in December. The purpose of our meeting is to elect a president and a vice president of the board, and to confirm the appointment of the chancellor for secretary in accordance with the board policy 2210. Let us take nominations for president, and then we will move on to vice president.
Madam President, I nominate.
I have my hand raised. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Trustee Bonilla.
Trustee Withrow, I do love you. I would like to nominate our current president, Trustee Cindy Napoli Abella-Reese, for president. And that is a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call or discussion? Roll call. Not how this goes.
I think, Madam President, you entertain any other nominations.
Oh, I'm sorry. May I entertain any other nominations for president? Hearing none, I want to make sure I am hearing and seeing none. Okay, let us do roll call.
Student Trustee Hogan? Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Handy?
No.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Abella-Reese?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you.
Did Trustee Withrow vote?
Yes, he was
I'm
the first
sorry.
one.
Thank you. I missed that.
Let us move on to vice president. Can I have a nomination for vice president? Trustee Jenkins?
Madam President, I nominate Trustee Delphine Polk.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Withrow. Okay. Do I have any other nominations for vice president? Okay. Seeing again and hearing none, let's do roll call, please.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Handy?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
I guess yes.
Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Abella-Reese?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. May I make one comment? Point of privilege as the new president. First of all, I'd like to welcome Deanna Delphine Polk as the series VP. Thank you and welcome. And I also just want to take a moment to ensure that I thank Vice President Gonzalez Yuen for this past year's work in partnership. I have said this to many people, but let it be on public record that that you, Nikki Gonzalez Yuen, Trustee Gonzalez Yuen, you were a fantastic Vice President and an excellent partner. Your viewpoint, your intellectual acumen, your ability to be able to see things that I could not see made you an excellent Vice President, and we were strong together. And I thank you for making this past year as board leadership easier because of our partnership. Now, we need to, my apologies for not knowing this part of the process. Do we confirm the Chancellor as the Secretary of the Board, and do we take roll call for that? Or we do? Okay.
It's a nomination, yeah.
Okay. May I have a nomination for the Secretary of the Board?
I'd like to nominate the Chancellor as the Secretary of the Board.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Bonilla. Thank you, Trustee Withrow. And I don't believe there are any other nominations for Secretary. Let's do roll call.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Handy,
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Yuen,
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I have these out of order a bit because 3.4 is roll call. So even though we've done roll call for the 2 votes, but can we do roll call for the official meeting? Madam Board Clerk?
Student Trustee Hogan, Student Trustee Cooper, Trustee Withrow,
Here.
Trustee Jenkins,
Here.
Trustee Handy,
Here.
Trustee Delphine Polk,
Here.
Trustee Bonilla,
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez Yuen,
Right here.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes. Oh, sorry. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to 3.5, the statement of the affirmation of the statement of cooperation. Are we going to post that? Thank you. Okay, as per usual, this is the framework that we all adhere to as we have our board meetings. Number 1, the board is continuing to work on trust in and among our members. Number 2, we agree to listen and seek to understand others and opposing viewpoints with the expectation of good intentions and a deep commitment to the district students. Number 3, we commit to being prepared for each meeting and to work within our established communication protocols when we seek additional information. Members will review the agenda in advance of each meeting and adhere to Board Policy 2340 for adding items to the agenda. Number 4, we have reviewed the board's code of ethics and commit to reviewing it annually at our organizational meeting to remind ourselves of the behavior we are to exhibit and the guidelines we are to follow in our role. Number 5, if the code of ethics is violated, we commit to follow the process stated in the code and will first address concerns informally to settle disagreements one-on-one between and among members before moving to the formal process. Number 6, we agree that from time to time, the chair will remind members of appropriate behavior and may call for a recess or redirect members if they stray from the topic of discussion. Number 7, we collectively recognize that it is within the duties and authority of the chair to render decisions or take actions to keep our meetings on track in adherence to board policy. Number 8, we will strive to fulfill the vision we established for ourselves. And number 9, we will model the behavior we want others to exhibit. Okay. Thank you for posting that. Let's move on to 3.6, report of action taken in closed session. That would be your role, Vice President Delphine Polk. I'm not sure if we got that information to you. Is there a report out from closed session at all?
There is, but I sent it to originally VP Yuen, so I
Go
will
ahead, VP Yuen. Why not?
My apologies.
It's all good.
It's all right. Okay, Madam President, tonight's closed session, the board voted on the following items. Public employee appointment. Item 2.2, recommendation to ratify the Chancellor's appointment of Dr. Stephanie Droker as the interim Deputy Chancellor, Chief Operating Officer at the District Office, effective January 10, 2022 through June 30, 2024, at an annual salary of $275,000. This position reports to the Chancellor. The recommendation to appoint Augustine Gill as Vice President of Administrative Services at the College of Alameda, effective January 3, 2022 through June 30, 2024, at an annual salary of $157,367. This position reports to the college president. Recommendation to appoint BC Hoff as the interim facilities project manager in the district office, effective December 20th, 2021 through June 30, 2023, at an annual salary of $121,052. This position reports to the Vice Chancellor of General Services. And the recommendation to extend the appointment of Immaculate Adesita through June 30, 2024 as the Human Resources Director in the District Office at an annual salary of $151,315. Director Adesita's current contract expires on June 30, 2023. So this is a one-year extension in advance. This position reports to the Vice Chancellor of Human Resources and Employee Relations. The motion was made by Trustee Withrow, seconded by Trustee Handy, with 5 votes in the affirmative: Withrow, Handy, Bonilla, Gonzalez-Yuan, Napoli-Abella-Reese, 0 noes, and 2 abstentions from Trustees Jenkins and Delphine Polk. Madam President, that concludes the closed session readout for tonight.
Thank you. Let's move to 3.7, the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Moved.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow, second. Trustees, can I have a second for the agenda approval, please? Anyone?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Trustee Withrow.
Yes.
Question, discussion.
Discussion, yes.
Madam President, might I pull for discussion 7.3, 8.9, and 8.10?
7.3, 8.9, and 8.10. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, roll call. Any others?
Trustee Withrow.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee Handy.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli-Abella-Reese.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. 3.8, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow, second.
Second.
Second, Trustee Jenkins. Roll call, if there's no discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Withrow.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee Handy.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli-Abella-Reese.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. 3.10, Peralta Classified Senate Report.
We're actually on 3.9, Associated Students Government Reports.
Oh, my apologies. 3.9, do we have any student leaders in the room?
We do, and I will move Harry Mapodile. Let's see who else. I'm not Bilal Hamran. I will move him. He's from Laney as well.
Great,
Okay.
wonderful.
They should be in with us as panelists now.
All right. Yeah, I can go for it. So in our previous meeting, the ASBCC in December 9th, we approved funding to provide coffee and pastries for Welcome Week at BCC for spring 2022. And the ASBCC also endorsed the guided pathway work plan to provide students with further academic program guidance in spring and fall of 2022. And also the food pantry will be transitioning back to the campus, to on campus. And in our next meeting on December 16th, the ASBCC will form an elections committee to oversee the student government elections in spring 2022. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. And then our next student leader.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. There's a few things I want to update since the last time I spoke with you guys. A few things we've done this semester. We had the ASLC sponsored the Laney College Latinx Center's two-day event for Latinx Heritage Celebration. Our first in-person event was on October 15th, and then the previous one was October 11th, which was the movie night was as well. The second event, we had the Dios de la Muerte celebration on November 19th, which was as well, that was our second in-person event where there was tamales and music, live music. We sponsored an LGBTQ archivism healing through music concert on the evening of the 19th of November in collaboration with the Queer Arts Center and our counterpart ASMC. We also sponsored the conversations with Fabiola Santiago of the Oaxaca The Talk. She's an activist, an indigenous activist of coexistence and navigating as a California indigenous Latinx migrant. We approved the endorsement of the Reimagining Campus Safety Action Plan for Holistic Safety and Wellness for the Peralta Community College and District by Black Minds Matter, the vision of community-based reliability of orchestrating an overview of safety of measures, predominantly for mental health, restorative justice, and supporting student services. We are hosting a Q&A town hall this Friday, the 17th, from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. With our wonderful President Biscoff and college administrators with questions from the public and from the Laney College community about returning to campus spring 2022 and a few questions that students might have. They'll have the free ability to ask questions there. And lastly, we are planning to the Welcome Week and Club Rush for spring. I as well, not only as ASLC president, but also the current BSU president, the Black Student Union. We will be hosting ASLC alongside with BSU will be hosting this year's the Black Caucus of California Community Colleges, which will be in the spring from April 21st to 23rd. That is the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bilal. Okay. Let us go to 3.10, Peralta Classified Senate Report.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, we have one more person that would like to do a report. Macarena, I think is your name, correct? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, she would like to make a report out.
Wait, from which college?
College of Alameda.
College of Alameda.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Madam President, Chancellor, and members of the board. My name is Macarena Valenzuela, and I'm the newly elected. I'll be providing tonight's report on behalf of the students of College of Alameda. After a glitch in Qualtrics that prevented students from voting on the original election dates, the elections have concluded. The ESCO elections website was updated with an explanation of the technical difficulties as well as an updated elections timeline and voting link. Students also received an email communication. 3 additional students have demonstrated interest in serving on ESCOA. We are hoping to have everybody on board prior to the winter break. If students are interested in joining ESCOA, please email Director Rodriguez at nrodriguez@peralta.edu. In the month of November, our food pantry served 164 families for a total of 635 people, including students, staff, and members of the community. In the month of November, we had no leftover produce. In the past, we have distributed leftover produce to partners such as Homies Empowerment and Achieve Academy. In partnership with the Alameda County Food Bank, we distributed 60 holiday chicken dinners. Students were given priority and asked to register in advance. Through the Cougar Closet, we were able to provide a mother with a few essential clothing items for her infant. We are still in search of student workers to assist with the free produce market and CalFirst outreach. Please note, the food pantry will be closed Tuesday, December 28th, and will open Tuesday, January 11th. Our student engagement events for the month of November included Dia de los Muertos, which was a student, faculty, and staff get together on November 2nd, and Wellness Wednesday, titled Protect Your Energy, which was held on November 17th. In January, we will host Welcome Week activities that will take place from Monday, January 24th through Thursday, January 27th. This concludes my report on behalf of the students of College of Alameda. Thank you.
Thank you, Macarena, for that report. Do we have any more student leaders in the room?
No, ma'am.
All right, now let's move on to 3.10, Peralta Classified Senate Report.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, President, newly elected President Reese, members of the Board of Trustees, Chancellor Jackson, presidents, and guests. Tonight we have two classified Senate campus reports. The first report comes from the Laney College Classified Senate. The Classified Senate's last meeting of 2021 included the development of goals for 2021 to 2023, which will be posted to the Classified Senate webpage in spring 2022. However, as we end this fall 2021 semester, we would like to thank not only the Laney classified professionals, but all the classified professionals throughout the Peralta District. Thank you for all the hard work you have put in since March 2020 until now. Please know we see you and it is recognized and appreciated. The commitment to Peralta is exceptional, and we hope the work classified professionals do does not go unnoticed by administration and the district, especially when it comes to the safety and security of all my fellow classified professionals. The second report comes from the College of Alameda Classified Senate. Security at College of Alameda campus. There is a great deal of concern regarding the lack of transparency and communication regarding the status of security on campuses. Access to adequate security impacts students, classified professionals, and faculty. These individuals were tasked with conducting COVID screenings of visitors, faculty, staff, and students upon arrival, and this affects the safe return to campus. We would like a status update in this regard. COVID-19 hazard stipend. Not all classified staff receive the hazard stipend and/or incorrect stipend amounts like faculty. Faculty receive their stipends, whereas classified staff have not received the right amount and/or did not receive the stipends at all. This issue is attributed to the lack of communication between the district and SEIU leadership regarding the accuracy of payments prior to those payments being issued. Campus stewards are now tasked with the responsibility of obtaining the correct information so that these errors are corrected. Return to work. College of Alameda classifieds do not support a return to work until OSHA and other safety measures are in place. In addition, the development of a solid telecommute policy. Classifieds are also concerned about rumors that the district will soon announce they are rolling back their student vaccination policy to allow unvaccinated students to enroll in classes and be eligible to access in-person services. The leadership team strongly supports classifieds in their journey of professional growth. That is the end of the campus reports. Thank you very much for your continued support of the Peralta Classified Senate.
Thank you. Let's go to 3.11, District Academic Senate Report.
Good evening, President Abella Reese and newly elected Vice President Delphine Polk, and members of the Board of Trustees, presidents, our Chancellor, and members of the community. This week we are in finals, and as we're doing finals and preparing for next semester, I wanted to take this moment to give some thanks to folks. It's been an unusual semester, and unusual in the sense that we have hope with trying to go back to campus in terms of returning back to campus, but all kinds of stuff have been going on. And I wanted to recognize that this process is difficult, and there's a lot of concern out there, concern and frustration. I want to thank Chancellor Jackson and members of the cabinet for agreeing to do a return to campus town hall again. My hope is that it is recorded as was indicated, but I'm concerned that it's after finals. But I recognize the time frame has been unfortunate for faculty who may or may not be able to attend. We have communicated to the Chancellor the concerns and questions that we have, and that we hope that at the return to campus that there'll be some clarity. Yes, we also have heard about the decision, if not the discussion, of the allowing students who are not cleared to take online classes. That was a very heated discussion that we had at our academic senate, because yes, we are concerned about equity issues regarding our students. Yes, we are concerned about FDES, but we also are concerned that decisions, 6 weeks before the new semester starting, that basically bifurcates one decision for those who are taking classes and one for online, and then how do you communicate those two very distinct and different messages? All of that to say that, yes, it is a very difficult and very, very difficult process that we're all involved in. And I do want to take the time to thank the presidents and thank the district administration for doing their darndest to hear from us. I know it's been difficult. What I'd like to do right now is to also extend my thanks. Last week we had the director of safety, Thomas, attend the district academic senate, and I think that he is going to be excellent to try to address the safety issues at our campuses. And he's already doing things, little things that really, really try to promote the safety, which we really, really appreciate. And then finally, what I like to do is to speak briefly about a recent faculty member at Laney College who passed. There was a resolution by the Laney Senate last week that really speaks to how much we value Helen Curry for her service at Laney College. And it says, whereas Professor Curry began her journey as a student at Laney College, moving on to California State University, East Bay to earn a teaching credential, and later becoming an adjunct instructor at Laney, and then becoming a tenured full-time faculty. Whereas Professor Helen Curry faithfully served the Laney College community and the cosmetology department for over 40 years, educating and inspiring many students, including current faculty who were once students of Professor Curry. Whereas Professor Curry's wisdom extended beyond the classroom to start Black History Month programs at Laney College. Whereas Professor Curry realized the importance of health and well-being of our students, supported programs sponsored by the Learning Wellness Center. Whereas Professor Curry understood the power of shared governance, serving on the curriculum committee, the faculty senate, and many other committees, as well as serving as the PFT rep for Laney College. Whereas Professor Curry's compassion for students, as well as her high expectations, created a culture of respect, encouragement, and motivation. Be it resolved that Professor Helen Curry will be remembered fondly by her colleagues and students for indelible dedication to our community. Be it further resolved that the Laney faculty honors the memory of Professor Helen Curry and remains indebted to her for her services to Laney Faculty Senate, the Cosmetology Department, and the Laney community. So again, we mourn the passing of our fellow faculty member from Laney College, Helen Curry. And finally, I'd just like to do a shout out and a thank you to Siri Brown, who is stepping down at the end of this month to go back into the faculty ranks. I really appreciated her partnership with faculty and with faculty leaders. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Donald. Let's move on to 3.12, public communication. Vice President Delphine Koch. This is where you would normally announce our speakers, but maybe today, depending
I
on your level.
believe that Sasha and Maisha will be taking care of that.
Sounds good.
Does anybody have any public comment they would like to make? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, we have Jennifer Shinosky, Thomas Renbarger, Jess Sari. So I will move over Jennifer
I'm
first.
doing it right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Jennifer Shinosky, Thomas and Jeff Sari are now in panelists. You want to call on Jennifer Shinosky first?
There's a delay, so it's hard to know what's happening while I transition from guest to panelist. And I believe Justin Sari is ceding his time to me as well. Good evening. Thank you, as always, for having us here. I had a really hard time figuring out what I was going to talk about tonight. There's so many issues that have been popping up at the end of this very long fall semester and very long past couple of years. There are the rumored changes in vaccination policies, a $350,000 contract for student screeners on tonight's agenda, the renting out of half of COA's campus to high schools, a district administration that will be entirely made up of direct appointments to interim positions, and more. But instead of trying to be comprehensive, I'm going to try and hit on the most important issues as I see them tonight. First, I want to say that I recognize that many on the board and in the administration don't much care for me. I know that my words and the challenges that I make are annoying and that you'd rather not have to deal with them. But dismissing me and the things I have to say is personal, not professional. I'm here tonight and most board meeting nights to represent the Peralta faculty. PFT officers are elected by the faculty at all 4 colleges. That means that I'm usually the only person here chosen directly by the faculty of our district to represent their issues. And so dismissing me is dismissing them. And dismissing faculty is tantamount to dismissing years and years of knowledge, commitment, and struggle by the people that do the most important work of our college district, educating and supporting our students. So you don't have to like me, but you should listen to me because I'm here to do my job, and that's to represent the largest segment of workers within this district. On November 1st, more than a month ago, I asked to include a presentation on tonight's agenda. That presentation was a compilation of district data aimed at understanding our budgeting and course scheduling in a different way than it's often presented to you. The goal of the presentation was turning around our downward spiral in enrollment. And despite several assurances that we'd be allowed to present tonight, I was informed on Friday that it would not be. It's unfortunate that an institution that's supposed to be dedicated to learning suppresses alternative perspectives in this way, time and time again. I'll take the opportunity now during public comment to share a vital piece of data from that presentation, data that comes directly from the district budget books, so you can check it yourself. The district has decreased the course offerings in Peralta by the equivalent of more than 1,000 3-unit courses since the 2018 fiscal year. And we've done this while our revenues continue to increase. And while we cut classes and cut faculty and staff jobs, we continue to hire administrators and find cushy landing spots for our ex-administrators. On tonight's agenda, you've just approved the Deputy Chancellor position, a position that was not on the vacancy list supplied by PFT last summer, that never went through any participatory governance discussion, that's being hired as a direct appointment without any input from the faculty and staff central to this district, and at a cost of more than $350,000, including benefits, a cost that's roughly the salary of 5 teachers for our students. We also have COA's new vice president appointment, a position that gives COA the same 3 vice president positions as its sister colleges. We're adding administrators positions while claiming that faculty must be cut to align with student needs. We're being told that enrollment declines force these cuts and that we have a structural deficit to deal with. All the while, we add more and more positions at the top levels, the ones furthest from our students, figuratively and literally. The job of the trustees, as I understand it, is to represent the community that voted for you and to hold our district accountable through our chancellor. For us to move forward together, to really move forward together, we need you to listen to various points of view. We need to talk together to the many constituency groups that make up this district and to challenge the leadership when it's appropriate, even if it's uncomfortable or difficult to do so. The faculty and staff who make up this district, the working people of this district and for this district, beg you to be courageous. We beg you to make decisions that will allow us to be here to serve our community 10, 20, 30 years down the road, not simply get us to the next semester or the next accreditation report or election cycle. We beg you to listen to us. And if you won't listen to us, then we'll just have to find agencies and institutions that will. I want to finish tonight in honor of Miss Helen Curry. Miss Helen Curry passed away after years of service in Laney's cosmetology department. As you heard, she was also a beloved PFT rep. Miss Curry welcomed me when I first became a rep for Merritt College, and I showed up to the PFT Executive Council with a new baby in my arms. And I will never forget the warmth and kindness that she poured on me, and she poured on everyone that had the opportunity to meet her. So thank you and good night.
Next for Thomas Rimbarger.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, Board of Trustees, assembled administrators and guests. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Tom Renbarger. I'm going to be speaking in my role as the faculty co-chair of the Planning and Budget Council and taking up one of the things that PFT President Jennifer Shinosky mentioned. I wanted to inform you of a motion that the PBC passed expressing 2 interrelated concerns about the appointment of the the Deputy Chancellor position. The first is that there is at the very least a perception that there is a significant overlap in the responsibilities of the Deputy Chancellor and the responsibilities of the Chief of Staff based on a reading of the 2 job descriptions. And in light of that, an appointment of Deputy Chancellor is fiscally irresponsible because we are looking to decrease overlap in these sorts of areas as opposed to increasing overlap in those areas. The related point is that there may be very good reasons for the appointment of a Deputy Chancellor, and they may have very distinct responsibilities that justify that position. But that case was never made in the context of a participatory government meeting. And so therefore, we have no context to place the positions relative to their responsibilities. And this bypass of the participatory governance process is a real problem, right? If we say we're committed to participatory governance and then make these make these appointments that bypass that completely, that's a problem. And I would like to finish by saying this is not a comment at all on the appointee. Dr. Joker is a very respected member of the academic community, and she may well turn out to be a brilliant hire, right? So it's not about her specifically, but it's about the process by which we've come to having the appointment of a deputy chancellor, in light of reports like, from FICMAT that say, hey, maybe be a little bit less top heavy on the administrators in your district. So I just wanted to raise those concerns as the faculty co-chair of the Planning and Budget Council. And I thank you for your time and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Wordsworth, do you have any more speakers?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Let's move to the Chancellor's report then, 3.13.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone that's here in the meeting. We will begin with the reports from the presidents, and I'd like to put them in this order. We'll start with Laney College and Dr. Rudy Besikoff, followed by College of Alameda, Dr. Nathaniel Jones III. Merritt College would be next, Dr. Johnson, David Johnson, and then we will have Dr. Angelica Garcia follow up and close out. And then I have just a few comments. So we'll start with Dr. Besikoff.
And you guys, please let me know if you would like me to share your reports.
Good evening. I'd like to start off my report this evening by extending congratulations to the students at Laney and across Peralta on completing this very challenging fall 2021 semester, and ask that you all take a moment to celebrate the accomplishment as you close out your final exams. Along with that, I would also like to extend my most sincere gratitude to the Laney College classified professionals, to our faculty, and to our leadership team of administrators at Laney for your tireless efforts. And I think at times it's probably felt like nonstop efforts to serve our students. Also, as we are a community, I'd like to extend thanks to our donors, specifically those who gave of their time, their golf talents, and their efforts at the Bill Riley golf tournament. And it was just really great to see so many in our community taking time and giving of their resources to the benefit of our students, and that over $100,000 was raised was truly outstanding. And along with that, I would like to extend thanks to the Peralta Colleges Foundation. This was an event that was held and then, or scheduled and then postponed and then held again. And like I said, our students win in the end, and that's outstanding. Like all the Peralta colleges, Laney remains a place of learning and achievement. I continue to be reminded of this, whether it was the Umoja Ubaka Kwanzaa celebration of November 9th that I was fortunate enough to be invited to, or the Laney College English Department's literary extravaganza of November 10th, in which we got to hear our colleagues read some of their great work that they've written. Also, within your Board of Trustees report tonight is a recap of Laney College's December 3rd Golden State Bowl victory in football. Congratulations to Coach John Beam and his staff on getting this postseason invitation, which was the result of a winning record, and making a great memory of achievement for our student athletes. Also, on November 19th, our theater and media departments, doing what we should all be doing, came together and collaborated to put on an unforgettable performance of Shakespeare's Macbeth. With over 30 in attendance and another 30 or so joining virtually, There was an incredible cultural moment of learning and opportunity that took place. And I would like to extend special thanks to theater technician Alejandro Acosta, as well as department chairs Michael Torres and David Schlisky for coming together. And in addition to that, thank the staff, the faculty, and especially the many students who put in a lot of work to make this very unique performance happen. Also, as you've heard this evening, this past month has been a time to reflect on life and legacies. On December 8th, I attended the Celebration of Life Memorial for Alameda County Supervisor Wilma Chan in the gardens of the Oakland County Museum of Art. This was my first time seeing these vast gardens, and I thought them to be quite large on this rainy afternoon. But after listening to the many dignitaries honor Supervisor Chan and all she did to help people, especially those underserved and uninsured, those very gardens seemed too small to hold such a large legacy. And the warmth of her spirit and her accomplishments came through the rain that day. Also earlier this afternoon, I was reminded again of great legacies that we at Laney College and Peralta paid our respects and celebrated the life of retired cosmetology professor Helen Curry, who left us on November 16th. Professor Curry began her career at Laney more than 40 years ago as a part-time faculty member and then later a full-time faculty member who contributed to her college. And you've heard the many ways, not only in the classroom, but also in the faculty senate and with the PFT. The past weeks have really produced stories of her greatness as a colleague. And they come from all over my campus and all over the district to show that this was someone who really reached out, whether it was to colleagues and students. As we close our meeting tonight, I would like to ask that we adjourn in the memory of Professor Helen Curry. And with that, I'll conclude my report.
Good evening, President Reese, trustees, Chancellor Jackson, colleagues, and community members. My report this evening will be more personally introspective. If you're anything like me, the number and complexity of challenges and demands we face weigh on us heavily. While our circumstances may or may not change in the way we hope that they would, our perspective can, if we choose to be thankful for and appreciate the people and things we have in our lives. As we approach the end of the fall semester, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude for our wonderful and resilient students and our dedicated and exceptional faculty, staff, and administrators for coming together to get through another COVID-impacted semester. I'm especially thankful that we now have a student trustee, senator, I should say, Macarena Valenzuela, who gave our report this evening. So hats off to you, Macarena. Our faculty, staff, and administrators continue to adjust our campus operations to strike the appropriate balance between safety and meeting demands of our students in a manner that supports equity. I am thankful that we are still achieving excellence as reflected by the California Community Colleges Outlook newsletter recently featuring College of Alameda's Aviation Maintenance Technology Program in an article entitled Taking Flight, California Community Colleges Launches Careers in Aviation. The article highlights the importance of the airline industry to California's economy and the urgent need for qualified aviation mechanics that we at College of Alameda are providing. I'm also thankful that at College of Alameda's compassion and helping students and our community is a vital part of how we operationalize our mission. These attributes can be clearly seen in UC Berkeley Starting Point Mentorship Program recently featuring COA alumni Paula Roxia in their social media campaign. Paula is a psychology and sociology major at UC Berkeley, but she honed her interest in helping all students succeed and achieve despite their backgrounds, and while she was at College of Alameda. Or in College of Alameda, serving over 150 families in its monthly free produce market and Thanksgiving chicken dinner giveaways last month, as well as coming together in community and culture to celebrate the rich legacy of those who have gone before us in the Dias de los Muertos events held at our campus. Additionally, I am thankful for the creativity and tenacity of our campus community, intentional and data-driven strategic management efforts that include targeted advertising of our winter intersession, collaborating with one another to reduce course cancellation and improve productivity, as well as adopting standardized scheduling cohort blocks to better serve students efficiently. Lastly, I am thankful for each of you, our students, who are at the heart of what we do and why it is purposeful, as well as our faculty, staff, administrators, and district colleagues who partner with me and each of us to do this amazing work of transformation through education. I am humbled and honored to be COA's president, and I would like to wish each and every one of you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and prosperous New Year. That ends my report.
All right. Good evening, Chancellor, Board President, our newly elected Board Vice President, Trustees, Peralta colleagues, and community members. This is the President's report for Merritt College. So Merritt College is pleased to share that we have just established a care team. So I want to tell you a little bit about our care team. The Merritt College care team is committed to going beyond merely responding to reports of at-risk students displaying varying levels of disruptive or disturbed or distressed behavior. That's kind of been like the traditional model of care teams. But our care team is committed not only to offering assistance after an incident has occurred, but also to support students before issues have escalated to a crisis. Providing personal attention and referrals to resources on our campus and in the larger Oakland community is really the focus of our care team. And at the present moment, the team comprises faculty members. We have 2 deans, 2 directors, and they all represent diverse areas across campus: administration, mental health services, counseling, student accessibility services, and the Learning Center. Now, on a serious note, most frequently our care team finds itself addressing issues with students related to domestic violence, unfortunately, depression and anxiety that's typically precipitated by financial stress. So the challenges are real and the work is considerable, but the care team stands ready to help aid and assist. So care team referrals should be directed to our Dean of Counseling, Equity, and Achievement, Dr. Lisa Webb. Her email is lisawebb@peralta.edu. So I want to get that out there. Next, Merritt College is excited to partner with several fire departments across Alameda and Contra Costa counties, including the city of Alameda, Berkeley, Pinole, folks out in Rodeo, Hercules area, to coordinate our new regional joint firefighter academy. Now, this academy is going to address the growing need for skills training in this region. Moreover, this spring, the Merritt Fire Science Program, which is a state-accredited regional training provider, will also host the new regional academy, which we expect to yield, we're optimistic, but we expect it to yield upwards of maybe 30 new students to our program, and then really serve to pave the way for more innovative approaches to serve the region. And I think that this partnership is just one more example of the many ways that our Merritt College career education programs are addressing the needs of the workforce at a regional level and continuing to generate robust enrollment for our programs within the district. Finally, you may recall that last year, it wasn't around this time last year, but last year, Merritt College partnered with the city of Oakland to secure the Transformative Climate Communities Implementation Grant. It's a mouthful, but it's a mouthful because that grant was $28.2 million. And that award is currently being utilized to create and maintain pathway programs that meet labor demand needs and support high employment, primarily for residents in East Oakland. And we support that effort at Merritt College by working closely with the Black Cultural Zone Community Development Corporation. Well, last week we were approached again and presented another opportunity to work with the city of Oakland, but this time it's with the EDA Good Jobs Challenge Grant. Now, specifically what this grant would do is help our community address staffing needs of healthcare employers. And the way that we aim to do this is by building a culturally and linguistically appropriate healthcare workforce program to train workers for placement in local community health clinics. In addition, the goal would be to train and place individuals from our community into better paying healthcare sector jobs with long-term career pathways. And given our position as an educational leader in the field of allied health, we look forward to discussing the role we might play with the city of Oakland in this grant to bringing this critical project to fruition. So in closing, I want to wish our students, I know it is the calm before the storm, good luck on your finals this week. With that said, I want to wish the faculty good luck on your finals next week with the faculty too. Finish strong, let's run through the tape. And I also want to wish everyone a safe, blessed, and happy holiday season. And I will see you next year.
Good evening, President Napolia Bella-Reese, Dr. Jackson, newly appointed Vice President, Diana Delfin, colleagues, community members. In addition to the written report that you have, we have updates on the various activities and accomplishments, but the following is the oral report for Berkeley City College. And I'd like to begin by highlighting the Peralta Gems published article, which highlighted two BCC students. We're proud and happy to offer our congratulations to students Maureen Poitras and Gail Feldman, winners of 2 California Film Awards for 2021. Maureen, a video production student, was recognized by the California Film Institute with the Doc Pitch Audience Award. And Gail Feldman, a multimedia arts student, received the 2021 Berkeley Film Foundation grant. Congratulations to Maureen. She is the director of Finding the Money, and Gail Feldman is the director of Orchestra from Oil Drums. These are just reminders that students are incredibly talented, and our faculty, classified professionals, and leadership team continue to support learning that unlocks doors to opportunities. And I hope you have the chance to see both of those pieces. I also would like to extend my gratitude to Leticia Luna and Mayfer Gomez, student journalists of The Citizen, Peralta's only student-run newspaper. I really am honored to have had the chance to connect with them over the past few months, and I'm in awe of their journalistic talent to produce the first ever dual language article in Spanish and in English. Mil gracias por el honor de su tiempo y talento, mis hermanas. In collaboration with Carbon Health and the City of Berkeley, we're proud to be a resource for the community by offering vaccinations. And this is certainly something that's happening across all of the colleges. At BCC, every Tuesday, we offer these clinics. And just last evening at Berkeley Mayor Jesse Arreguin's town hall, the college did receive some recognition and some gratitude for hosting the space for the community, especially for children, especially those who are now eligible to receive the vaccination. So just today, I sat alongside kids and students, community members, and colleagues as I received my booster shot. And thankfully, I spent my 15 minutes post-booster shot watching cartoons with the kids. And I'll tell you, that is not a bad way to share some time and space. And now I'm just jealous that my TV screen at home is not nearly as big as the one that we offered in our atrium. I would like to echo what President Besikoff shared earlier in gratitude for the Peralta Colleges Foundation, especially my gratitude to Executive Director Lenise Jones for her leadership and coordination of the most recent golf tournament fundraiser. I really want to thank the board, donors, and the community for supporting the over $100,000 in student scholarships. And I must say that I have never golfed a day in my life, but I am interested in maybe trying to learn a new skill, although I'm not entirely sure that I have it in me to do it. So we'll see. Stay tuned for next year. You know, with the end of the calendar year comes many transitions. And tonight I want to thank and honor some colleagues who will retire from Berkeley City College. And while I could spend great lengths of time describing and honoring each one of them, what I'd like to do is at least share their name and the role that they have played, and in summation, just share that we are grateful for their work and service and that we will miss them. And so among some of our retirees include Shu Hu from the custodial services team, Jennifer Lanahan as the coordinator for Veteran Services, Marilyn Montague, staff assistant in our business services department, Roger Tolliver, staff services specialist in our business services department. And this last one is actually a very personal one, Miss Cynthia Reese, executive assistant to the president. They will be greatly missed and collectively have served decades, not only to Berkeley City College, but throughout the district. So to each and every one of them, I wish them well in their retirement. In closing, I would like to wish students in our district a successful completion of their fall semester as they complete final exams and assignments this week. May your holiday break be filled with warmth, community, and a well-deserved recovery. The holidays pose an interesting juxtaposition of emotions, I think. On the one hand, many are happy to be in community with family and honoring cultural and family traditions. On the other, many are reminded of the harsh realities that is poverty, homelessness, and hunger. So to all students, my holiday wish for you is that you feel seen, heard, and loved, and that you feel seen, heard, and loved, especially by this community amongst the Peralta district. To Berkeley City College colleagues, may you have a holiday break worthy of a time of recovery for your service and commitment to students. Our college, our district really shines because of each and every one of you showing up for students, whether it be in the classroom, workshops, counseling sessions, outreach, giveaways, and so much more. And I'm especially grateful for ASBCC President Harry Mapodile, Classified Senate President Andrea Williams, and Academic Senate Matt Freeman. I think collectively we have built a leadership community that tries to provide a level of work and leadership and stewardship for our governance process. And so I'm grateful to each and every one of you. And I feel like we could go on and on. Really, I just want to say thank you y feliz año nuevo. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Presidents. I appreciate your report. I did just want to make a few comments before I close the Chancellor's update. First, the colleges have received notification from ACC-JC that we've been accepted to present at the ACC Commission meeting, January the 14th, Friday. And we're hopeful that the commissioners will recognize the significant work that we've done in meeting the standards as they've established. The other thing I wanted to talk just briefly about is that As Dr. Moore indicated, we will be holding another town hall meeting on the return to campus. That meeting is going to be scheduled for this coming Monday, December the 20th at 10 a.m. The announcements will be going out tomorrow. The delay in getting the announcement out was that we wanted to include some frequently asked questions, some of the ones that have even been posed tonight. And I also want to elicit the support of Bael and Homan from Laney College, as well as congratulations to College of Alameda's new student body president, Macarena Valenzuela. If you could also help us to get the word out so that students attend that, because we're going to provide a broad scope of information. We're going to send out the notice tomorrow with some frequently asked questions that people have been posing. And then we're also going to solicit in advance of that meeting any questions that individuals might have. It will be recorded as the last one was, and it will be posted on YouTube so that those that are not able to attend will reap the benefit of seeing that. And one of the other things I just want to say for the record, I received multiple emails, verbal communication, concerns. And as I stated, even tonight, I heard online students would no longer be required to submit proof of COVID-19 vaccination. I received that from an email from a faculty member who was extremely concerned. So let me be clear. We have never discussed not enforcing the policy that the board directed July 30th of 2021. We are looking at the fact that we have limited capacity to pursue the broader scope of requiring all students to be vaccinated, but that is our policy, and it is still our policy. Our focus will be on those students or individuals that pose the most significant health risk. And those are the students that are enrolled in face-to-face courses. We're still going forward with our faculty, our staff, and our administration being vaccinated as required by the board as a condition of employment, and that is still in place. We still have measures in place for validating vaccinations and/or testing for policy compliance prior to accessing services on the campuses or the district office, such as the library, counseling, cafeteria, and etc. None of that has changed. So I just want to allay the fears of those out there that somehow there's been a turnaround at the district office or at the district administrative level, but we have not done that. And the announcement that will go out tomorrow will address some of those questions in detail. And last, I want to congratulate those of those who are retiring, that are leaving the district, those students that are graduating or going on to transfer or getting jobs. You are why we do what we do. And the last thing, just for the record, I don't dislike Dr. Jennifer Sinowski. She didn't say that outright, but I just wanted to go down for the record. What I do is I look forward for a forum for us to share our own unique perspectives so that we can find some commonality. And with that, that will close the Chancellor's report, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Can you all hear me okay? Thank you, Chancellor, and thank you, Presidents, for the report. Let's move on to the presentations. We've got 4.1 Mgi Advocacy.
Greetings, everyone. President Reese, Vice President Delphine Polk, Chancellor, Administration. I do have a PowerPoint presentation.
Would you like for me to pull it up, or did you want to share your screen?
Yeah, if you don't mind pulling it up, that'd be great.
No problem.
I will say while we wait that it's good to see everyone again. But I I can't wait till there's a time when I can come back on the campus, back on the campuses and see everyone in person. I really look forward to that. So here I'm going to give a quick review of last year, and then I'll talk a little bit about what to expect for the coming year. Next slide. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about how we work. And I will say, number one, communication is everything. And so we do 2 conference calls a week. We do one on Mondays that Royal participates in, and that's kind of the everyday workings of the Capitol. We'll let you know what bills are going to be up that week, get feedback from your experts. If there, for example, if there's a facilities issue, Royal bring that to your facilities expert and get back to us on how that impacts your campus. And that helps us work with legislative staff and legislators as they craft policy. Then we do a Thursday morning call that the Chancellor participates in, and that's more high-level budget discussions as the budget is developed and which direction we want to go as we try to influence the development of the budget and high-level bills. For example, one bill that was discussed a lot this year was the baccalaureate degree bill, high-level bill. We generally work through the Chancellor, and she represents the board and the policy priorities that your district has developed. And then we have regular communication throughout the course of the legislative year with members, with your staff, with the Chancellor, through letters, through phone calls, and we advocate your positions in that way. Next slide. Just a real quick legislative timeline. The legislature will reconvene on January 3rd. They don't take that day off. They'll be back January 3rd. And then the new budget is already due on January 10th. This is the governor's first proposal. Will come out on January 10th. The final budget won't be done until July, but this will be the first shot through. Next slide. Some wins that we had this year for Peralta. Number one was a 5% COLA instead of 4%. That's an extra percent. An additional year of hold harmless under the funding formula. There was a grant program that the district will have access to help support LGBTQ plus students on campuses. And then there was funding that we got for targeted categorical programs for the campuses, Umoja, Puente, Mesa, and EOPS to help support students. Next slide. The other ones were ethnic studies funding, funding for full-time faculty, and funding for part-time faculty support, mainly part-time faculty office hours, help support students. Next slide. This is the budget agreement. I think you've been well briefed since the budget was passed in July. So I'm not going to go through this line by line, but I'll point out that there was the elimination of deferrals, which was a big one. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them at the end on any of these items. Next slide. A lot of money for scheduled maintenance, which I think will help when you start to get students back on your campuses. And then money for emergency financial aid for students. And then I will point out $42 million for the Strong Workforce Program. Next slide. Other budget adjustments. One item that I'm going to point out is that there was $2 billion for affordable student housing. Next slide. And of that 2 billion, 1 billion, half of it was set aside for community colleges. That's over a 3-year period. That 1 billion was over a 3-year period. They took applications earlier this year in October, and there were $1.3 billion in applications in year one. So a little bit later in the presentation, you'll see that one of the things I think will be an issue next year as we move will be more money into affordable housing. And I'll talk a little bit about why, but they're not going to use all 1 billion in the first year. They're going to have to pare back those that were applied for. And Peralta applied for some planning grants. There was money for planning grants, which can provide money for feasibility studies to see if it makes sense to put student housing up. Next slide. So I talked about this a little bit, but the bills of interest that went through the legislature this year, AB 927 allows for baccalaureate degrees for community college districts, more of them. I will say that you should be receiving guidance from the Chancellor's office soon. The first applications are going to be due shortly after January. So if this is something you're interested in, you should be preparing to apply. Next slide. Their AB 1456 would have expanded financial aid and updated the Cal Grant program, provided a lot more money for community college students. It was actually vetoed by the governor, but this was authored by Jose Medina and we supported it. This is something that Jose Medina is going to bring back next year. He wants it. If you haven't heard, he's not running for re-election in his final year. He really wants to put this through to the finish line in his last year. Next slide. AB 1040 would have required an ethnic studies requirement for community college students. This bill got held up in Senate Education, but I will say that the Board of Governors approved regulations requiring an ethnic studies course for those students going through community colleges. So now you have a requirement in high school, community college, and at the CSU. There's going to need to be a lot more ethnic studies courses added because the CSU made the requirement a lower division course requirement. So students that are seeking transfer to the CSU are likely going to be seeking ethnic studies courses at community colleges. Next slide. This bill was passed. I think it's something that you should be aware of. AB 928, transfer reform. It requires students to go and be placed in an ADT in their major. If there is an ADT in that major, that's the default major for those students. Next slide. And then AB 1111 was also signed, and this requires common course numbering throughout the community college system. And I know that Peralta has gotten good marks for having common course numbering amongst your colleges. But there was money in the budget for this. And over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to be looking at making common course numbering throughout the state. Next slide. There's 2 bond bills moving through. I will say that with the huge surplus that we're looking at, the legislature is looking at just providing some of that surplus to go towards capital outlay as opposed to doing a bond. That way the funding doesn't impact the GAN limit. They can get around the GAN limit that way. Next slide. So for next year's budget, just to kind of put this in perspective, for next year, there's going to be about 20 billion surplus in Proposition 98, and it'll be about 9.5 billion in ongoing and about 10 billion in one time. And if you assume community colleges get about 11% of that, then there's going to be about a little over $2 billion in new money available for community colleges. So some of the things to think about as we move forward. Next slide. This 20 billion is on top of a 5% COLA. So you'll get your 5% COLA, and then there'll be 20 billion or 2 billion for community colleges. So there's going to be a lot of money next year. Next slide. Some of the things that we've talked about, and I've talked with the Chancellor about, and happy to open up at the end for conversation about priorities for Peralta for next year, is funding formula reform, addressing the hold harmless and declining enrollments, a base increase, just a general base increase to what it takes to operate a college or a center, funding for technology, creating an ongoing fund for technology with the recognition that we're in a new era of higher education where students are learning online, and it requires new tools and new technology in order to offer those courses. Buying down the employer contributions for CalSTRS and CalPERS, which are dramatically increasing. If we're able to put non-Proposition 98 money to reduce your contributions that you need to make to CalSTRS and CalPERS, then that frees up your operating budget. Looking at providing some funding for diversity in faculty hiring, or looking at hiring some additional ethnic studies faculty. I mentioned this before, but really pushing for Cal Grant reform so that our students are getting more money. Community college students are getting more money in their pocket, because we know it's not just the tuition cost that keeps community college students from being successful. And then money for scheduled maintenance as you bring students back on campus. Next slide. And then just some other things we'll see. AB 705 implementation is going to be an issue. Looking at apportionment for tutoring, prerequisites and co-requisites. Dual enrollment will be one of the bills that'll be introduced. And then I just wanted to put this out there because this was a discussion at the end of the last legislative session. COVID-19 vaccination. There are rumblings of a mandatory vaccination law, or in lieu of that, some employer protections if an employer requires employees to get vaccinated. So those are two, not necessarily just community college issues, but issues that are being discussed out there. And then, of course, I think we're going to have a big discussion around the student-centered funding formula this year. The Chancellor and I have been talking, and she was around for the last funding formula, as were some of you. And it's always easier to make funding formula changes when there's more money than it is when you're trying to cut. And so I think if there's going to be some changes, this is the year to do it, because we have some money on the table and we're not going to be looking to make reductions. So with that, I went through, I know, a lot of information fairly quickly. Next slide. Happy to take any questions or comments that you have. There's my email address there if you want to get in contact with me later, if you think of something that you're not thinking of now. So, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Trustees, do we have any questions? I see a few hands. Trustee Gonzalez UN, and then Trustee Delphine Cook, and then Trustee Jenkins.
Thank you, Mark, for the presentation, and thank you for the ongoing work. Can you talk, you breezed through the Berman 928 transfer bill. Can you talk a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah, so that was a difficult one, I will say. And you had a lot of, you had faculty, you had administration, and you had even the chancellor's office working on that bill, and the league, the Community College League, working on that bill and pushing against it and trying to make it a better bill. And quite frankly, the sponsors were the Campaign for College Opportunity, and they were able to push it through. I think ultimately, there are some good things about the bill. Number one is it creates a transfer task force that the community colleges are going to chair. And we'll see if this happens. I mean, Trustee Gonzalez, you know how it is when you try to make UC do something. There is a requirement that UC and CSU come up with a common pathway for community college students moving from community college to CSU or UC, so that they're not trying to do 4 different things for 4 different colleges. That's supposed to happen over a number of years. We'll see if we can get UC to do that. But there are going to need to be some resources that you're going to have to commit. And I think it's mainly going to be counseling resources to when you have students that are applying and are automatically being put into an ADT when it may not be the best option for them.
So what's odd to me about that particular legislation is that you have the entire system of people who actually work with students saying, no, this isn't the correct approach. Yes, we do need some changes here, but this is not the correct approach. You had one player on the other side. And so the fact that the Campaign for College Opportunity, with its corporate backers, its privatized agenda, et cetera, outweighed the entire rest of the system, I think is actually kind of shocking. And tells us something important that we need to know about the politics of higher education reform in the state that we better pay attention to. So I think that's kind of one thing. The other thing that I'm really curious about is the Cal Grant reform, which would have put a lot of money back into the hands of really needy students. And Cal Grant's like really problematic. It jumps people through a lot of hoops that are unnecessary. And I think at the end of the day, you had both houses of the legislature supporting this. And then the governor said, well, we can't afford it. Yeah. What do we need to do differently next time so that we're more successful with the governor's office? And I guess that's actually sort of a question that sort of speaks to the transfer reform as well. We lost on that. Our voices were not successful. What do we need to be doing differently to be more successful in fighting for our students more effectively? Because it seems to me that both of these things were ultimately harmful for our students.
I can't agree with you more on your first point. I think we need to take a step back and reevaluate what we did, because you're right, we had the whole system on one side of the transfer reform bill, and we had one organization basically push it through. I mean, we had FAC, we had CFT, we had CTA, we had the league, we had the districts we represent, and
the chancellor's office themselves.
And the chancellor's office as well, yeah. And so I think we really need to reassess and I think come out a little stronger earlier. I think for lack of a better word, a technical term, kind of dilly-dallied around a little bit early on and tried to come in late, hard, and by then there was too much momentum. On the Cal Grant reform, the governor, there were a couple good things that happened in the budget. They eliminated the age requirement on the Cal Grant B, and they eliminated the time out of college requirement. So that helps community college students a lot because, as you know, it's community college students that come out of high school, come back to college, or our older students that are coming into college. And so I think the administration thought that they'd done enough in the Cal Grant area for the year. We need to get out in front early and I think partner with the Student Aid Commission that is pushing this reform, and get to the Department of Finance early and get them to set aside money for it so that when the bill gets to the governor, there's money there.
Thank you.
Trustee Delphine Polk and then Trustee Jenkins.
Actually, I think Trustee Jenkins was before me.
Thank you, Vice President. So question mark on hold harmless. What is our positioning around hold harmless? Are we looking to continuously extend it, or is there a temperature to get rid of hold harmless? And then my second question is, how much money are we getting specifically for our colleges and programs, if you have that number?
That's a good question. On the hold harmless, our position right now is to extend the hold harmless. The Community College League has a funding formula task force that is looking at making some recommendations. And what we're looking at is kind of more of a reactionary position when they come out with their recommendations, seeing how those would work and then reacting to that. The other thing is we are looking at with the coalition of, it's not just Bay Area districts anymore, but some sort of cost of living adjustment for the funding formula. I mean, it's now LA, it's now San Diego. It started with the Bay Area, but it's almost all over the state now. I think the other thing to look at, and there was a statutory group of advisors that were put together through appointments on the funding formula. And one of the things they recommended was that the funding formula include a bump for first generation college students. And I think we need to take a serious look at that. I think that's something that would help Peralta. I think you have a lot of first generation students attending your colleges. And that was a recommendation that was made by that work group that has just been kind of put on the shelf. And I think that's something we need to think about. Something that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the chancellor about, but I wouldn't want to push anything without having any numbers, of course. On the specific numbers, I can get those to you. I don't know if you have a specific one that you're looking at. If you had a specific program, because some of the programs are through grants, some of them are through, are just basically FTES allocations, and other ones are going out, like the Emoja program is going to go out on grants, but it'll start with allocations to those colleges that have programs that are up and running. The LGBTQ plus program is going to be grant-based through the Chancellor's office, which will be applications that you'll put in. but most of the other ones are through FTES or other mechanisms where they go to students, to colleges based on the number of low-income students that they have. So I don't know if you have a specific one. I can figure it out and get back to you if you want me to do that.
No, it's okay. You explained it well enough there, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Vice President Delphine Polk.
Yes, thank you, Mark. This is a really great roundup to the year. I do have a couple of specific questions. One was, I know that on slide 4, some of the accomplishments for Peralta in particular were funding to targeted categorical programs. Can you speak a little bit to the additional funding that went towards the Puente program?
Yeah, so that'll go out similarly. I should have put the dollar figures there. That's a great question. But similar to the Umoja program, that'll go statewide and will go to those colleges that have programs up and running now.
And there's no additional criteria for that, just existing Puente programs will receive additional dollars?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And
They're-
then,
they're-
go ahead.
They've been a little slow on getting that money out. Just because they had so many different programs that were funded this year. It should be coming out pretty soon.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that. And then the second question I had was, again, around funding. I know that you'd spoke in your presentation about having a lot of, in so many words, having a lot more funding in the coming year. Do you have any sense in Sacramento about what the funding priorities might be, just on a high level?
Yeah, I have a couple things. I think infrastructure is going to be a big one. And I alluded to it when I said the GAN limit. That is the spending limit that the state has based on a initiative that was passed years ago that limits state spending to a certain year plus inflation. But funding for capital projects or facilities does not count against the GAN limit, and funding for schools and community colleges does not count against the GAN limit. So I think if I had to guess, they're going to put some money towards retirement outlays. They're going to put money towards capital facilities projects. I would guess that more money goes into that funding for higher education, low-income housing, because that, again, is outside of the GAN limit. And there were so many colleges interested in doing that I think that there's an opening to put more money there. And then housing is just on everybody's mind right now in the legislature. And the other thing that I think they're going to be looking at is getting more money into students' hands for basic needs, for food and housing insecurity, not just building housing, but rent, food pantry, things like that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I just have one question, and it seems like the budget and funding is on all of our minds from the questions that we're asking. But it sounds like from your PowerPoint and your presentation that the resolve for the declining enrollment seems to be the extension of hold harmless for the SEFF, for the SCIF. But we all know that the declining enrollment in K through 12 is as a result of population decline is our new reality for all community colleges, particularly in California. So I guess my question is, aside from the extension or the hopeful extension of hold harmless, are there any rumblings amongst the legislators about how more aggressively to intervene in that? And number two, and I think I heard this from the chancellor's office, but I'm not exactly sure. are legislators, both states as well as federal, aware of and talking about the fraudulent students who are accessing financial aid and any interventions, or kind of what's the conversation there, if any?
That's a great question. And so twofold. I think number one, the conversation is going on the student-centered funding formula on, like I said, on some cost of living adjustment, because as you know, living in Oakland or Alameda is more expensive than living in other places. And I think that needs to be addressed in the funding formula. And then, like I said, looking at first generation students, I will be curious to see what the task force comes out with. I think even Department of Finance is waiting to hear what other folks have to say. I'm sorry, what was the second question?
The fraudulent students who are.
Oh, the fraudulent. Yes, I will say that caught the attention of the Speaker of the Assembly. And actually, I'll pat Royal on the back. I sent an email to him, and the Speaker's staff wanted some information, and Royal got some great information and sent it over. I don't know if she ever emailed you, Royal, to following up, but that has been discussed by budget staff, Speaker staff, and I've heard it from other districts to maybe provide some one-time money for better technology, software protection that colleges might need in order to prevent that.
As that conversation goes forward, can you let us know kind of where we stand or what people are saying? Because that'd be good to know.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you. Are there any more questions from the trustees? Oh, are these latent hands? Oh, no, Trustee Bonilla.
Hi, thank you. Mark, two issues that come up for me. One, thank you for such a comprehensive overview. And there's one particular issue that I don't know if the legislature has discussed or if we've figured out a strategy on how to bring this forward, which is facilities and deferred maintenance. And so we know that this is a huge, huge, huge cost to districts, and especially districts like Peralta, who financially just teeter-totter on the verge of barely making it. I just interested if those discussions have surfaced in any way, shape, or form. And then the second, which is another huge cost that I don't know that if it's being discussed at all, would be our liability issues around retirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good questions. So I have had a conversation with the Chancellor about the deferred maintenance issues, particularly around trying to get, as you're moving, hopefully at some point in the near future, students coming back on campus. That's going to be much needed. I think that's recognized by a lot of districts, and I think they'll be, with the one-time money that's going to be available, I think there'll be there could be a significant amount of money put towards scheduled maintenance. The other one is a great question. If you recall, 2 years ago, the governor took non-Proposition 98 money and he used that money to buy down the employer contribution rates for CalSTRS and CalPERS, and they went down by like 2 percentage points each. So your CalSTRS employer contribution, I think, went from 19% to 17%.
I do recall. Mm-hmm.
And that runs out this year. Those payments were over a 2-year period. And so that's another thing that we've been talking about, advocating to have the governor take that non-Proposition 98 money, that chunk of money that he has, one-time money, and invest it in that same way, so that, because your retirement costs are going to go up, but if you can reduce your contribution by 2% again, that frees up operational dollars that you can use for what it should be used for, right? Serving students.
Great, thank you for that. So is there anything we can do to put pressure, or that's just an ongoing conversation between you and the chancellor it's high on the radar?
It's high on the radar. I think the chancellor and I will advocate strongly for that. I think as we move into the budget season, the governor kicks off the budget season with his proposal January 10th, and then the legislature responds. As we move towards that, you have Senator Skinner is chair of the Senate Budget Committee. So I think utilizing any relationships that you as trustees might have with her or your presidents would be helpful as we advocate for that.
Perfect, thank you.
And then I believe we have Chancellor Jackson. That's all. Wait.
Yes, I just wanted to take a minute to thank Mark. He is a great partner. We recently had a retreat with some of the other members of MGI. In particular, San Diego Community College is part of the membership, as well as San Francisco City College, and also LA Community College District, and Peralta and Kern from the Central Valley, as others. I'm just identifying some of those that you may know, some of the larger districts. So as we move forward, we're a pretty large block in trying to present our points of view. We're urban, so we have a lot of some of the shared concerns about moving forward, and we have been able to make some changes. I think one of the items, as Mark indicated, that is going to be critical is what is going to happen with SCIF. This year is money, but there's the recommendations that are going to come out of this committee or task force. And there's been rumblings of reestablishing a benchmark date for SCIF funding that will have a significant effect on us, as well as other colleges that have seen a decline in enrollment. So even though the money may be there, how that money is allocated is still going to be something that we are going to have to keep in our sights as we move forward, because it isn't always allocated based upon needs. They try to come up with sometimes a nice, neat way of saying, you're going to get X amount, everybody's going to get X amount of percentage, or we're going to look at FTES. And sometimes it isn't always based upon the greatest need. So that's where our advocacy becomes very critical. So I will keep the board posted as we move forward. I will need your assistance. I do know Senator Skinner, so that helps. There is a little bit of a relationship there, but politics is politics. So we will always be vigilant. So thank you, Mark. I just appreciate your presentation to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, trustees, let's move on to the consent calendar. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Jenkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Handy?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
Trustee Napolia Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Let's move on to 7.3 and then 8.9 and then 8.10 extracted from the consent calendar. So 7.3, Trustee Jenkins.
Madam President, so looking at this item, it makes me extremely uncomfortable voting for a contract that is going outside of California. I believe it's Massachusetts is the firm. I mean, Massachusetts is the area in which the firm resides, and we're to be an economic engine for our service area. So I believe that we should look for vendors in our own community that are able to do this work. And that's why I pulled it from consent calendar.
Chancellor.
I would like to have Director Mark Johnson speak to this particular item since it is in his area of responsibility. Director Johnson.
Unmuting myself now. Thank you, Chancellor, and thank you, Trustee Jenkins, for the question. Always enjoy the opportunity to talk about our marketing activities. I absolutely take your point about wanting to work with vendors that are in the California and in particular in our service area. In the case of this particular vendor, they were referred to me by our colleagues at the Chabot Las Positas district. They were founded by a woman named Jennifer Aries, who was the previous executive director of marketing and communication at the Chabot Las Positas district. So while she's now based on the East Coast, her roots are very much here in the East Bay. I went out to bid for this particular work with a number of different vendors. And I specifically chose vendors that are experienced in working with community college clientele so that they had an understanding of the type of students that we're trying to pursue. And this organization was by far the most compelling presentation that was returned as part of that bid process. And because of their experience and connection with the East Bay, I chose to go with them. They did some really fantastic work for us in the fall semester. So that was why I was wanting to extend the agreement.
Trustee Delphine Polk and then Trustee Withrow.
Thank you, Mark. I think you mentioned just a bit ago type of student, which is part of why you chose this particular vendor. Can you tell me a little, or tell us rather, a little bit more about that? Like, what are the types of students that you're targeting?
I should say the messaging for community college programs. So this is a vendor that's worked almost exclusively with community colleges. So they understand career and technical education programs. They understand programs like Puente. They understand those different programs that are specific to more of a community college audience. So that's why we chose them to kind of tap into that expertise.
What other community college districts have they worked with? I'm looking in particular just, I have another question to follow up that, but I'll start with that one.
Mm-hmm. I know specifically they work with Chabot Las Positas. I'm not sure of what other districts. I saw a presentation by Crystal Berry, who is their head of marketing and communications at the CC Pro conference. That's the Community College Public Relations Officers Organization. That's sort of the trade group for people in my role and PIOs at colleges. And she gave an outstanding presentation, which was one of the reasons why I reached out to them.
Okay, and I have one last question. I know that we just approved a $30,000 contract to the Bay Area News Group. Does the 25th Hour Communications? Can you speak a little bit about how much they actually work with ethnic media versus mainstream media?
Point of order. I want to make sure that we're not switching to another item.
I apologize. Yeah, I'm just curious what their experience was with that. That's all I was asking.
It is a good question. So we're using Bay Area News Group for.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I apologize.
Mr. Johnson,
Thank you, Trustee Bonilla. I was just curious what their experience was with that. That's all I wanted to know. With their particular, with the 25th hour.
I'll defer to, I'm sorry, I'll defer to board president.
Yeah.
So you're talking about two different agenda items.
I actually didn't mean to do that.
Okay, so is there another question that you have that's specific to 7.3?
No, I can submit something else in writing. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Withrow.
Yeah, I think that Trustee Jenkins brings up a good point, and backed up by our new Vice President Polk. It would really help if in the preparation for the reports going out public, they're not just for us, but they're a public document that are seen by a lot of people. If we included in there why we did not find somebody, locate somebody, commit to somebody in our service area, just make that as a paragraph throughout in all of the areas. Because it's a very valid question. It's a very valid question, and we're a significant economic factor in our service area, and we need to recognize that. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Withrow. Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen.
I'm really appreciating the discussion and the points being raised. I also think that if in fact we're going to ask staff to do this, we need a board policy that specifically then says, this is what is expected as a criterion and that it should be a priority. We do have our small local business preference bumps, et cetera. And if as a matter of board policy or district policy, we want this is a significant part of staff consideration, let's have that discussion, because I think it's a really important discussion. On this particular item, it would be after the fact, and it would be kind of unfair to staff to actually then say, hey, after the fact, we're going to make you do this. But again, I really appreciate the conversation, and I hope that Trustee Jenkins, you will draft an agenda item to follow up on this for a serious policy discussion that we can then implement across the board, if that is the will of the board in consultation with Chancellor and staff in terms of the kind of wisdom of narrowing in our market like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item, which was 8.9.
Do we need a vote on that one though?
We sure do.
Absolutely. Okay. Roll call, please.
We don't have a first or a second.
First, please.
Move approval.
All right. Second, thank you, Trustee Withrow.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Bonilla. Roll call.
Trustee Withrow.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee Handy.
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Pope.
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla.
Yes, and I just want to remind everyone, this is a ratification for work already performed.
Right.
So it's a yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen.
Yes.
Trustee Napolia Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, let's move to 8.9. Trustee Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam President. With this item, it's along the lines of the same thing. This is a Moraga company, and we have a number of community health clinics, organizations that are within our service area. And I want to know about the bidding process on this. I see that it was under the $50,000 or under the threshold for board approval at first, and then now it's going to get an addendum of $250,000. Were any other organizations considered, any local organizations as well for this contract? And how do we know that we're getting the best price on these services?
As before, I would like for Vice Chancellor Siri Brown to address this and may go into more detail, but before she starts, I will say we did do informal requests. That is something that we usually do before adding an addendum. It is not a RFP. It's usually just like when you search around for the best deals. We did do that, and given the information that we found, this was significantly, and I underline the word significantly, better than some of the other recommendations that we received in terms of cost associated with this. But I will let Dr. Brown speak to that.
Thank you, Chancellor and trustees. Yes, we did actually look into the current health services partner that is very local, that we have a sizable contract with already, and that provides health services for our students and has done so for the past few years. However, they were unable to extend their contract around these services because of capacity. They, as you know, are leaders in the Black and Brown community here in Oakland around battling COVID and educating people about the need for the vaccination. And so they were unable to accommodate us. We did ask our lead physician and our health services coordinator. We dialogued about options, and health service providers in this time of the pandemic are very stretched for very obvious reasons. And there are a few who have been partnering with high schools or colleges to provide such services. And so the recommendation was Bright Star Care. And in our return to campus committee meetings, we talked about what kind of service we needed and what kind of service we wanted to provide to students. There were discussions about using in-house, there were discussions about using security, other means, but the decision was that this is a public health crisis, and we wanted to use healthcare providers as opposed to staff who are already very busy or any other options. And so as the Chancellor underscored, this is a very significantly less than other options that were provided to us. We did want to start off with a smaller assessment of the work and whether or not we would how much services we would need for spring semester. And then it became clear in our discussions that for spring semester, returning back in person, that we would need to have additional staff, a significantly additional staff from Bright Star Care, so that we could ensure the safety of the campus community in compliance with the student vaccination and employee policies.
Thank you. I hope in the future we can get somebody from the community, but understood. Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to move 8.9 and 8.10 together.
Okay. Do I have a second? For
Second.
8.9? Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Roll call.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee Handy?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Bonilla?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napolia Bellarice?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 11.1, delegation of authority during board recess for winter break. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Bonilla, discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
trustee Handy,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 11.2, consider readoption of resolution number 21/22-51 for District Brown Act covered legislative bodies to continue conducting meetings via teleconference per California Government Code Section 54953. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Trustee Withrow, second. Second on that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Bonilla.
Took me a while to get to the unmute. Second.
Discussion. All right. Roll call.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Jenkins,
No.
trustee Handy,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
11.3, consider second reading and approval of proposed board policies. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
trustee Handy,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
11.4, consider appointment of member to the Personal Tax Measure Oversight Committee. May I have a motion for 11.4?
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Withrow. Thank you, trustee Jenkins. Discussion. Okay, roll call.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
trustee Handy,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving right along, 11.5, consider adoption of resolution number 21/22-56, declaring futility of soliciting bids and approving an equipment lease purchase agreement with Aurora Clean, LLC in the amount of $197,200 to lease 2 shower trailers for 24 months for the Laney College locker room interim campus. Motion?
So moved.
Thank you, trustee.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Withrow. Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
trustee Handy,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
trustee Bonilla,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, we are done with our action items. Let's go to 12.1, civil grand jury update, and I will turn this over to both Natasha as well as the Chancellor.
Good evening, trustees and Peralta community. Thank you for the opportunity to present this item. As the board knows, the civil grand jury issued its annual civil grand jury report in July, and that report included a section on Peralta Community College District. In the report, it covered a period from 2018 to 2020, which it covers a different makeup of our board and a different administration in part, but addressed a number of issues and brought light to some concerns that the civil grand jury saw, that many of which the district had already identified itself and was in the process of working on, also a few other issues. What the civil grand jury process requires is that after receiving a report, the district then must provide a response to that report. They made 9 findings and 9 recommendations for the district. The district, through the chancellor, addressed each of the findings made by the civil grand jury, as well as providing a response to each of the recommendations. The way that you respond to a civil grand jury report is you provide a response that says you agree, you disagree partially, or you disagree wholly with the findings that they made. In the district's response, which is attached to this item, the district agreed to one, disagreed with a couple of items, and disagreed partially with approximately 6 of the findings. So that was the district's really first and final opportunity to kind of address some of the concerns raised by the civil grand jury. Most of the findings and most of the recommendations made by the civil grand jury are ones that the district had already been in the process of addressing and is continuing to address. You have a meeting in this calendar that you just adopted earlier tonight. You have continuing work that you're doing with Helen Benjamin that will be continuing in January in a work session. You've been through some trainings. There are other things planned where you're continuing to address the recommendations offered by the civil grand jury. The final recommendation that they offered was that the district agendize the civil grand jury's report response so that there can be discussion if needed or wanted by the board itself. So this item is being presented for that purpose. At the end of this item, we will basically we will have completed the district's process as it relates to the civil grand jury report. We do have some new members of the board that weren't part of the board at the time that this report is covering. But if there are any comments that any of the trustees would like to make, this would be the time to do that. And with that, I can take any questions or turn it back to the president. And then we can move forward with the trustee reports. Thank you.
I do not see any trustees. Okay.
President, seeing no comments on this item, there's no action required here, so there is no formal motion or action that would be taken. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let us then move on to board reports, 13.1. I'm just going to go through my tiles here. Trustee Withrow. You're on, Trustee Withrow.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear my name. Just a pass, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Jenkins.
I just want to thank everybody who took the time to participate in the Foundation's golf tournament. It was incredibly successful after being rained out the first time. The second time, people were able to get out there, play, and most importantly, raise much needed funds for our students, over $100,000. So thank you to everyone who participated.
Trustee Handy.
I echo Kevin's comments. I was at the golf tournament from 9 until 6, and it was really wonderful, and it was like old times. Many of you might not know, but our golf tournaments were started by Dr. Riley, and he would actually fill up the entire golf tournament himself. And now, under the direction of our foundation leader, Lanice Jones, and our fundraising director, Patricia Brooks, and the members of the foundation, they took it just to the max. And it was great to see all the people coming back to the tournament. People come in from all types of areas. And the $100,000 was raised before the auctions even started. And the auctions brought in a considerable amount more. And we already have a date for next year's tournament. And I believe they're thinking of adding a tennis tournament. earlier in the day and a golf tournament later. And the best part about it is these funds go directly back to support our students. And that's the thing that's so incredible. And a lot of the people who come and support it are also people who work with us, as vendors who work in different areas, and they show their commitment to Peralta, not only just working on contracts, but also coming back to support the foundation and our students. So it was a really fun day. It was great seeing Dr. Riley in his office where he is. You can be found probably 6 days a week, and to see all the other golfers come back. So thanks to everyone that came. And one of the fun parts for me this time was also driving the presidents around while we're looking for their sponsored holes. And Dr. Johnson trusted me, but I don't think the other two did. We went over a few, it was really kind of perilous. We did some little two-sided wheelies and things trying to find our spot, but it worked out. And also, I think the temperature only hit, I believe, 50 degrees for most of the day. So it was really a challenge, but it was a great day after all. So thank you all for your participation.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan.
Thank you. It's been a really challenging year for all of us. I think we've certainly gotten used to being in a pandemic, but we're still in a pandemic, and it's still really dangerous. And serving for the last year as the board vice president has been a real honor. It's the second time I served as the board vice president, and actually really have no interest in serving as the board president, like ever. Partly is that you get a view into what the president does, like the day-to-day work. And I have to say that the last year watching President Napoli Bella-Reese at work, and it really is work, has been inspirational and also really just exhausting, just seeing the volume of work. And it's not like Peralta is this easy place to govern. It's really, really challenging. So one, I want to thank my colleagues for their confidence in me as a vice president. I'd like to thank Cindy in particular for the trust that she placed in me. And most particularly, I'd like to thank the people who work at Peralta for the everyday stuff that just needs to happen to keep the wheels on the bus and keep it moving. In particular, Chancellor Jackson, you came on board in the middle of multiple crises and managed to calm things in a way that I think is giving us just enough breathing room to catch up and maybe be successful here. So thank you in particular for coming out of retirement, dedicating a lot of time to an institution that I know you've loved dearly. So anyway, I'm looking forward to spending more time in my classroom and with my family this coming year. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan. Trustee Bonilla.
Yes. I want to start off by welcoming Trustee Delphine Polk as our Vice President. Welcome. And yes, nice big hand. And I also want to thank our past and current president, Trustee Napoli Bella-Reese, for your dedication, for your continued commitment. As you heard from Trustee Gonzalez, it is a huge lift, much appreciated. And we're committed to helping and support in any way that we can. So thank you, Trustee Reese. And Trustee Gonzalez, Ewan, thank you so much for serving as our past VP. I think you were a tremendous support, ally, confidant. The history that you carry for Peralta in this position as trustee is invaluable. And we rely totally on that historical knowledge to be able to help move the district forward. And it is a huge sacrifice and a huge commitment to step into the role of board officer. And I just want to thank you for that work. Bravo. Yes, much love. So we're winding down year 2 of the pandemic. Oh my gosh, right? It's like we did it and we're heading into another year. And I want to just take a quick moment to thank all of the college presidents for your amazing resilience, your commitment to the students, the programs that you usher, the work that you do day in and day out. And as you know, my motto is, if we didn't tell you we were in a pandemic, you would never know it. In listening to the 4 of the college presidents, as you represent your schools, your students, you do an amazing job. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of my trustees who I learned so much from. I think you're all amazing. Thank you to our amazing duo board clerks, Maisha Jameson and Sasha Amiri. You both have, yes. You both have been an amazing powerhouse duo and love the support that you offer. And Chancellor, thank you for coming into this district and working diligently with us and giving us your all. I know that the students can feel the change and their appreciation, I'm sure, goes deep. So happy New Year, happy holidays, everyone. I know that this is our last meeting of the year, and I wish us all a healthy, safe, and happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Trustee Bonilla. We have Vice President Delphine Polk.
Yes. Good evening. I will keep it brief. I know we've been running for a few hours. I know, Dr. Garcia, that you mentioned the article that came out today at the Peralta Citizen. I want to give a huge shout out to Laney Gastis, who is one of my constituents, as well as the student writers from the Citizen who wrote a bilingual piece. I was very moved to read that. I felt very seen. And the reason why I want to kind of push this up is because I understand the importance of ethnic media, of bilingual media, and reaching out to constituents in the community and meeting them where they are. I think that's a really important thing and a very empowering thing for someone who is Latina. And so I just want to really thank the Citizen for putting that out today. And Dr. Garcia, I always knew you were amazing, and to be able to read that, I was moved very much so. So thank you so much to everybody who made that possible. And happy holidays. I'm closing out my first year on the dais. I have learned a lot, and I'm very honored that my colleagues selected me to serve in board leadership this year. So looking forward to it, and I hope you all have a happy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you all, trustees. And I'll just make this quick. I mean, it's a little difficult to actually go after Trustee Bonilla, who mentioned every single person and didn't miss a single individual to say thank you to, which is fabulous and wonderful. And I would just echo those same sentiments. There are so many people to kind of shout out and say thank you for a very difficult year, a very challenging year, but all in all, a pretty incredible year. And so as we enter into, or we finish off the holiday season with Christmas right around the corner and New Year's Eve and entering into 2022, let's just remember how precious life is, and let's just be with family and be with friends and you know, and continue to just breathe, because I think that there's a lot of that sometimes on a day-to-day basis we all, each and every one of us, forget to do. And so with that, I am going to turn this over to first our announcements. And then after our announcements, we are going to close the meeting with two individuals. First, President Besikoff, and then Trustee Handy. So let us go to our announcements first. And I'm not sure who's going to be doing that, Sasha or Vice President Delphine Polk.
I'm happy to. I just need announcements.
Okay, or maybe, you know what, maybe today, let's just have our board clerk take care of the.
That's great.
Okay.
One moment. I did send it to VP Ewan originally, so.
I've got them if you'd like me to read them up.
Oh yeah, why don't you do it?
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. December 11 through December 17 is finals week at Peralta. Our best wishes to the students who are wrapping up the fall semester this week, and to the faculty and the staff who have done an amazing job of serving them. Enrollments for the winter intersession are open right now at the College of Alameda. You can earn 3 units in 3 weeks if you work really hard, with classes starting December 20. Visit the COA website at www.alameda.edu for more information. Enrollment is open for the spring 2022 semester, with classes starting January 24 right now. Students can enroll via Campus Solutions. Visit the Peralta website at peralta.edu for more information. Peralta Colleges Foundation is hosting a distinguished leader lunch session with Mr. Michael Matthews, Public Policy Director for Meta, formerly known as Facebook, on Thursday, December 16 at 12:30 p.m. Please visit the Peralta Colleges Foundation website at peraltafoundation.org to register. The Peralta Community College District will be closed for the winter break from December 23 through January 2nd, and then will reopen on Monday, January 3rd, 2022. We wish you a safe and happy holidays and Happy New Year. And the next meeting of the Board of Trustees will be Tuesday, January 11, 2022. Trustees, please fill out that doodle poll on our retreat. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen. President Besikoff, I know that you had said a few remarks about the passing of Helen Curry, but I'm going to give it back to you again, and then we'll hand it over to Trustee Handy.
President Napoli Bella-Reese and members of the board, I respectfully request this evening that the proceedings be adjourned in memory of Professor Helen Curry, and done so in the spirit of the resolution that was read by the the Laney College Faculty Senate, as well as the family, friends, and colleagues who were in attendance this afternoon at the celebration of life that was held in Professor Curry's honor and in her memory.
Thank you, President Besikoff. Trustee Handy, you are also going to talk for a moment about Leo Augustus Ray Lynch.
Yes. I also wanted to say that it's just a very, very sad time for many of us with the passing of Helen Curry. She was such an amazing person, and she was always there to robe us as we walked out for the graduation, to make sure our hair was in place and everything was pinned our hats on. And she always did it in such a loving way. It was like a mother duckling over all of us, making sure that we did Laney College proud as we marched out there. And as she was retiring, she called me talking about how she really wanted to make things better for the cosmetology students, and how we were working together to try to figure out how we could do the kits, because students often couldn't afford that. And I'm glad to see that people are really interested in seeing if we could follow up with what and make her dream come true, is to create a fund that will help students in the cosmetology department so that they'll have everything that they need so they can do a great job and complete their classes. We also want to close in the honor of Leo Ray Lynch. Many of you may not have met him in person, but if you've been into the Barbara Lee Sciences building at Merritt College, that's an example of his contribution to our college. Leo worked with WLC Architect and then most recently HMC Architect. He supported our students in so many ways. Not just did they come and work with us, but he would be a major sponsor for the dinners for our golf tournaments. He designed our first significant facilities master plan for us. He was so kind to everyone. He was always there at CCLC events. And when you looked at their display, right there at the top, front and center was the Barbara Lee building. He's going to be greatly missed by trustees all up and down the state of California and people here. He was a kind, sweet man who came from humble beginnings and worked his way up and never, ever forgot to turn around and get things back to the community. So we have lost two giants this year, and it just really breaks my heart. But I'm so glad that neither of them are suffering anymore.
Thank you both. Okay, with that, we will adjourn for 2022 and 2021, and we will see you all in 2022. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Good night. Be safe, everyone.